Hello Internet, in this video we are going to be working with this guy. So this is an HTC Vive and you use it to make VR applications. So we're going to be using three plugins for Unity, three assets. And we are going to be building, I don't know how to describe this, an idea thing. Have you ever seen those like giant tubes where people put paper or money or whatever in there? And then there's wind that gets blown in, and that blows all the paper around, and then you have to grab something. I'm planning on doing that, but with ideas. So I have my own ideas. I have this huge list of things that I want to do, and you guys have left a bunch of great ideas in the comments. So I wanted some way to kind of choose them that wasn't just going and do like randomly picking one. I wanted something a little bit more visual. So I was initially thinking like a spin wheel or something, but that was interesting, but not as interesting as this, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all the ideas onto floating text elements in here, and then you're going to have to grab one out of the air in VR, and then you can either accept it and just do it, or you can just throw it back into the wind if it's not a great idea. And the cool thing is I'm thinking we could probably hook this up to like live chat services. So if you have a Twitch stream, for example, you could have like a /suggest or something that introduces a new idea. And so you can just kind of get barraged with suggestions. I don't really have... Anyway, we are going to build that. I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm assuming it's going to take longer than most of my videos, and I just spent 2 hours trying to build a really nice environment. As you can see, that went really well. So we have just a cube here. The good thing about that not going great is all of these assets are free and or open source. TextMesh Pro, I don't know if we're going to actually use that or not, but I have it, is a Unity asset. And it just lets you make 3D text or 3D font stuff. VRTK is an open source VR toolkit. That's literally what it stands for. And it's sort of a nicer way to do it. It has all of that like grabbing logic and stuff is already implemented. So theoretically, we can just it should be plug and play, I think. And then we just have to do the scrolling. But yeah, and then SteamVR actually integrates into SteamVR, so you can actually grab this guy and interact with that. So I can show you what we have now. I haven't actually tested this, so I have no idea how this is going to work. But this is just Unity's default camera. It's automatically connected to your camera when you do this. And now I'm thinking there's a bug in SteamVR, so I may need to make some quick changes but whatever. Anyway, we can move the headset around and everything moves, which is great. So what I'm going to do is pull out one of these examples. We have using a grabbed object, basic object grabbing. That sounds promising. That's pretty much all I need is just a way to grab things. So I want to be able to pick things up and then put them down. So let's see here. That should be good. I need to grab VRTK, the camera rig, and I'm also going to take these example objects with me just over there, and then we can, that didn't take everything I thought it would. Okay, well, now it did. Cool. So I can drop that main camera now. And we can just unload this guy and remove the scene. Cool. So that's gone now, and we just have this. I'm going to raise that up again so they're touching. And now our player has this box around them. I should move this. So we have this box around us, and that's my play area. It's smaller than I'd like, but I think that's everybody's issue with VR. So that's sort of where you can step without running into a wall. I have mine fairly wide off of my walls, just because I have friends that play it and they aren't as experienced, and they'll hit my walls and break my stuff. So to avoid that, I have fairly safe boundaries just to keep that from happening. But anyway, that's not really relevant. That's totally wrong. If I run this now, everything should still work. I just brought over all of their tools. So where am I? So the issue is I'm totally off the screen. And I do have controllers, I thought. Oh, right. Okay, so this is the bug. I was working on Astro's VR and ran into this. But anyway, these don't get updated for whatever reason. There was an update to Unity that broke this integration, and for some reason they haven't pushed a fix yet. I don't know why, but anyway, that's kind of on Valve to fix. So we're stuck waiting for them. But luckily, it is open source, so we can go fix that. So let me go pull from Asteroids VR what I did, and then we can continue, because otherwise I have to like manually enable these every time, which is a pain, and it doesn't actually work either. So yeah, BRB. Okay, so I think we're good. Everything is working now. What I had to do is, you'll see there, well, you won't see. Actually, you will. There's an update poses component that I had to add in order to get these to show up. That's just a Unity 5.6 bug. I don't know why, but it's there. So that's how you fix it. Yeah. It is super late, and I am kind of out of it, but that's all right. We now need to actually grab those things. So I'm going to rotate this a bit, because I think that's the corner of my room I'm in. Could be wrong. Yeah, that looks better. Oh, jeez. One sec. I totally got this. No, no, no. Ah. Okay. That could have gone better. So part of the issue with VR, especially like what I'm doing, is it's hard to actually test, especially when I'm trying to record this. It has become even harder. There we go. Okay, so I can pick up this landmine, I think. Yeah. Okay, so it drops it if I hit something, which is fine. We can work with that. This is gonna, I don't know how we're gonna test this later. But that's fine. So we can pick those up. That's good. I have no idea how this audio is gonna sound because I'm leaning all over the place. Let's see. So I need one of these. Ungrabbable sphere, table, don't need any of that. No highlight on touch. Yeah, we'll take this basic cube. You are now mine. Wahaha. Alright, so we're gonna delete everything else. And we're gonna use this guy as our template. And I should just be able to create a few of these and drop them. That's not gonna work. Never mind. I don't know what I'm doing. So what we need is there is an interactable object script here, which is actually going to fire off when things are grabbed. It controls things that you can interact with. So in this case, this actually has some grab options that control what happens. So can you grab it? Yes. Does it stay grabbed or not? And a few other things, like if you teleport around, does it continue to stay on your object? Or does it continue to stay grabbed, or will it be left behind? So there's a few other things like that. Looks like there's also a highlight option. which is interesting, but we don't really need that. What I do need is a UI canvas. So let's try this. I'm going to try using Text Mesh Pro. And I have no idea how well this is going to work. So you have been warned. But we're going to do just 0, 0, 0 with a width of, oh geez, that is huge. We're going to call it My Great New Idea. So this is your great new idea. It says it right there, which all great new ideas are called My Great Idea. So with this, we're going to have it centered in both directions, like so. And that is enormous. So let's shrink that down to like, that's still going to be huge. We're going to make it 1,000th of that size. So it's really important when you're doing these UI scaling things to scale every dimension, because if you miss one, when things start rotating, everything is going to get all kinds of messed up, and you'll figure out what happens pretty quickly. So let's see here. We've got a great new idea. It's just kind of floating there, and oops, that's going to be a problem. You're going to need to be there. And I scaled that instead of our canvas. Well, shoot. That's not what I meant to do. All right. Cool. So now we have a canvas with that on it. And we need to make it grabbable. So we're going to add a rigid body and a box collider. So this box is going to define what you can grab. And why isn't it? Oh, we scaled everything. Of course we scaled everything. This is not a good idea. I don't know if I like this idea at all. But, well, we're going to do it. Like, I don't know, scaling stuff like this it doesn't ever work out the way you expect. So let's just make that like 10. Okay, so that's super thin, like paper. That's cool. We've got a great new idea. It's on that. What else do they have? Interactable object and fixed joint grab attach. Which is going to, I believe, I haven't actually used this, but I think it's going to attach to joints. So both of these, they don't have it now because it's defined somewhere else. But both of these will have a way to actually create a rigid body that you connect to. And so that joint is going to define that, I believe. This is probably less helpful. This is more me just tinkering. Which, you guys are gonna have to tell me how useful these kind of videos are, because I honestly don't know. It's not like a learning thing. It's more of just let's build something, which I don't know I don't know what people think about that. So yeah, if you have thoughts, let me know. Let's see. We have all of those scripts are now here. So I should be able to pick this up now. So if I drop this, I'm not going to be anywhere near it. Definitely fell, so that's good. I'm just going to try to get this underneath here. Oh. Well, it's good now. Shoot. Oh, this is going so poorly. All right. So I've now put that on the ground and get to deal with one of the fantastic, wonderful things about VR, which is that the floor is not where the floor says it is. So we are going to try to grab that and see what happens. So it turns out I don't actually have tracking under my desk, which, surprise, surprise, that is expected. I don't know what I was expecting. But anyway, I'm sure it works. Maybe. I'm just going to disable him for now. And we're going to try that again. This time it's actually going to... Oops, don't need to save that yet. Let's try that. I'm actually going to, like, legitimately try. So, 1 second. Let me see if I can actually pick things up. So, success. We can actually pick it up. I ended up dropping it shortly afterwards on the ground, which I can't pick up because the collision box is too thin. But you get the idea. Oh, this is so bad. Anyway, you can pick that up and everything goes fantastic, which is good. So now all we need to do is actually just kind of make these fly by you. So I'm going to save a prefab of that. What do we want to call this project? A virtual choice selection. I guess that's what we're calling it. So we'll create just a quick prefabs folder and drop this here. We're going to call this our idea note. That sounds like an awful name, so why not? Anywho, there's that. We have an idea note. That's still a bad name. So anyway, we need to now spawn these and move them by the player, which shouldn't be too hard. Let's save this here. Drop it into our just test, I guess. Why not? Let's see. We're also going to need some scripts because this is totally new. And let's just create something for our idea spawner. So since there's gravity already, it'll be super easy to just create and drop these. I don't really know what I think about. I was kind of thinking they'd come in on the wind, like you'd be on like some mountaintop or something and they'd fly past you. Like on the, I think that'd be cool. So maybe we can change it later, but for now I'm just going to drop them. Which is less interesting, but it's still interesting. So I'm going to actually drop them directly over your head. So we're actually going to have we're going to track for that head camera and then actually drop it from there. So that way, theoretically, no matter where you are, even if you're outside of your play area, like I could just drop them all in the play area, but this way they all kind of spawn relative to your head. So if you move around or something, it should still work, I think. I imagine most people will probably just be standing around for the most part when they're doing this. Let me get this over onto the other screen. No, onto the other screen. Onto the other screen. Visual Studio is being very stubborn right now. I don't know what's going on, but come on. It's okay. It's figuring itself out. So we'll let it do its thing, and then there we go. Wow, that took way longer than it should have. All right, let's create a new game object. This will just be our template. For now, I'm not actually going to randomize the text, which I probably we'll need to do that eventually, but I have a whole bunch of ideas for that. I want to read it. Initially, I want it to come from like a CSV so I can export a Google Doc or something like that and actually plug it in. So you can actually take like a poll and then, I don't know, output them somewhere. So that's sort of the plan one, but we'll do that separately. So we have our template. And we'll do just a public float spawn rate. Let's do 4. So 4 per second initially. Nah, we'll do 10. 10 sounds like a good number, right? Which means we're going to need a private float timer span. Yeah, so this will be private, and we'll also have a float of our timer. So the timer span is just going to be set equal to 1 divided by the float of the spawn rate. So this is just going to get us the total duration. So if our spawn rate is like 0.1, we'll spawn one every 10 seconds. But if it's like 10, we'll spawn one every 10th of a second. So now that we have that, we also need our timer equal to 0. And then we'll do timer minus equals the time delta. And then if our timer is less than 0, we need to spawn a template. So we'll spawn it, and then we will reset our timer. So our timer will be equal to the timer span. And if this goes negative, everything's going to break. This is going to get hit every single frame. Which I guess doesn't break it, but it definitely is going to it's going to slow your game down, and you're definitely going to notice that. So we've got the spawn there. I need to do that still, which means we need a transform of tracked spawn public float height and public float random length. So we're going to be tracking the player's head, but we need to spawn it some amount of height above that. And that's what the height is going to do. And then the random length, it's going to move out some amount. So from that, we're going to actually kind of project it out a little bit. So it's not all just directly above the player. We want it to kind of filter out that way. And we're probably going to have some like noise applied to this as well. So this won't be the only thing affecting where they fall. They'll probably be falling like some sort of non easily trackable thing, because I want it to be random. Like, it's not going to obviously be totally random, but it's going to be random enough that you have no idea what you're picking. But also interesting. So let's see. We're going to instantiate our template at this transform position plus vector3 dot up times our height plus random inside the unit sphere, and we're going to multiply that by our random length. So that's just going to get us something between a unit vector and 0, or something from a unit vector down, and then we're just going to multiply that length. So it could be 0, and then we just don't affect it at all. But it could be something else, and then we're just going to do a random rotation. So this will just randomly start it at some random rotation. And I wonder if we could do particles for this. I was thinking we could try that, but I don't think there's any way to do like this, like grabbing and stuff of them as particles. I don't think there's a way to do that. I could be wrong, and maybe there is, and then we could try that. But I don't know of a way to do that. So spawned. So we're going to grab our spawned object and set its we don't want to set its parent. What am I doing? That's totally wrong. Ignore that. So we probably don't need that set there. And that should be good. So we get our spawned object, grab a timer, everything's good. Yeah. So now we just need a object to actually spawn them. Spawner. And there we go. Let's track our player's head. Definitely don't want that to be the template. That would be awful. And then we'll just put that there. Random length, we'll give it like a 1 meter is what this is going to turn out to be. So it should be fairly random, and we'll do 10 per second. And these won't despawn, so we're going to break things. Seems fairly performant, at least. So it doesn't like crash immediately, which is what I was kind of expecting. Like, we spawned a bunch of those. So I guess performance isn't awful. That's good. I'm going to switch the layer of this note here to... We're going to add a new one. To notes. Sure. It's a terrible name, but okay. Moved everywhere. Cool. So we're going to set it to the note. Yes, we'll change the children. And then we are going to set this equal to our terrain. And so the idea here is we're going to actually let this fall through the terrain. So instead of just sitting on here and resting, it's actually just going to fall right through. The player can't, obviously, which actually we could just remove the collision box here. But I'm planning on adding like maybe some other physical objects that you can like just throw around for fun. So that won't work long term. So let's change our physics settings. So we've got our terrain. We don't want that terrain and the note to collide, so we're going to turn that off. And now theoretically, if I did this right, they should, yeah, they'll just fall right through. Which means now we can actually just have them, if they go below some Y value, we can just delete them. Which is just a really simple script. I'm not worried too much about like pooling and all of those optimizations. This is a super basic app, so we don't need to spend too much time on that kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna destroy on Y. And this is just gonna, when the Y value becomes less than the configured value, it just deletes it. So public float min Y. If our transform position.y is less than the min y, then destroy this game object. Cool. That was easy. So we need to drop that onto our note. Maybe? No? Unity's being all sorts of weird today. I don't know what's going on, but everything is fighting me. So we're just gonna stick that there, and we'll just say if it gets below 4 or below 5, then we'll delete it. And this way, even if you hold something, it's never gonna fall below that -5, so it's never gonna delete if you're holding it. But if you drop it, it will fall through the ground and then delete. So idea note, cool. And then should get the cascade somewhere. There they are. And so they'll keep falling. They should start deleting. It doesn't look like they are, though. Yeah, they definitely are not deleting. Because my script is not on them. Did I not apply that prefab? I don't think I did. Okay. Whoops. -5. Save that. Apply. That should work. Delete. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay. So it's not, you can see it's not creating that many of them. We've got like 15 or so. Where the heck? There we go. So yeah, all you have to do is just grab one of these as they fall by, and then you're good. So one last thing before we finish this up, because this is kind of going all over the place, but I'm going to add a like random force modifier just to kind of, well, actually, we can do better than that. Can we? I don't actually know if this works or not. Let's find out. We're doing all sorts of new things today. If I add wind, what happens? Does it actually blow rigid bodies? I don't remember. Doesn't look like it. I think that's a definitive no. They would be flying that way. Yeah, so no, wind does not affect them. That's too bad. That would have made this way easier. All right, so that's gone. Okay, I've got an idea for this. So let's do a wave drop. And we'll just collect our rigid body, and we'll have a float. Float, yeah, for our seed. So each one of these is going to have a seed. I'm just going to make that public just so I can see it. And we're just going to grab a random value. That's going to be our seed. And so that seed is what's going to make them unique. So everything falling at the same point doesn't have the same thing. So there's some randomness to it. Because I'm just going to use sine waves. So, and the reason I'm doing that is just because if we use some like randomness or something, it's hard to keep that smooth. And this way, by doing like if we do sine waves based on the position, we should actually be able to modify this fairly easily and actually get it hopefully reacting in a relatively consistent way that looks random. I think. I don't know. I've never tried this again. So we're going to add some velocity, add some force, equal to a new vector. So we're going to do math. Let's do. We're not going to worry about. Are we going to worry about y? Let's actually give it some like resistance or something. So sine of. What did I want? Let's just do time.time plus our seed. And so we're just going to use these seeds as an offset, so that kind of moves us along the sine wave by a consistent amount. So we're still increasing this time over time, but we're not at the same spot for everything. For our y, I'm going to leave that 0 for now. We might change it to add some like wind or some air resistance or something. But for now, that should be fine. And then we're going to do plus seed, I think. I don't want it to just kind of do like a spiral. I think that's kind of boring. So we're going to do 2 seed, or 2 times our seed. So that's just going to move it. That's not what I want. Let's mess with the frequency a bit. So time times 0.9, sure, 0.9. So this one's just going to be a little bit slower. It's going to have a longer period. So it won't necessarily be a circle. It's just going to be an oval now. But oh well. I feel like that did almost nothing. Oh, it did exactly nothing because, again, I didn't even add it to this script. Well, like, I don't know why this has become a problem, but I need to actually start paying attention. This needs to happen. Yeah, so seed, cool. Apply, got it. I should just start disabling that instead of deleting it. All right, so it still doesn't appear to be having too much of an effect, but I'm sure we can tweak that. So I'm just gonna modify this effect quickly, just to make it a little bit. Spawn rate 30. 30 sounds good. Just so it's a little bit more random. There we go. So now you have to grab one of these. And then that's your idea, and then you can build it, or I can build it, or whatever. So the idea here is hopefully we can just, it's not going to be too big of a project, so I think we can just finish this, actually turn this into something, and hopefully release it so it's like if you have a stream or something, you can use it. I don't really know, but if you've got ideas, I'd love to hear them, because yeah, that's sort of what this is all about. So yeah, if there's any feedback you guys have or any suggestions you have for other videos, I'd love to hear them. Maybe we can throw them into this thing and see how it works. So yeah, that's it for this video. So until next time, see you, Internet.